Fairbanks, a lot of consideration must go into our mobility because it will significantly impact the business if you have to knock down a wash plant and take days to move it from site to site to site. When Parker Schnobel's enormous wash facility, Big Red, brutally destroyed itself, his hopes of a $25 million gold season were dashed. Nevertheless, rumors of a magnificent $16 million ballroom started to emerge from that mechanical horror. However, how did he manage to take the unfathomable danger of sniffing that type of gold again? Let's start the engines and see if Big Red's death rattle was the last nail in his season's coffin, or if Parker can accomplish the seemingly impossible. The Red Giant breaks apart. Parker Schnabel was in a tough place as the days dwindled, and the first rumors of the deadly Yukon frost started to linger. The child who had routinely extracted more gold from the Klondike than workers twice his age was a young mining genius. However, he was being put to the test like never before this season at his enormous Dominion Creek claim. He wanted gold valued an incredible $25 million. Even for Parker, some internet followers were already criticizing it as being too ambitious and claiming he was setting himself up for failure. True believers, on the other hand, were certain that he was the only one capable of hitting that kind of number. However, the harsh reality was that he was lagging behind in spite of a tremendous effort. He was a young man carrying a great deal of anxiety. I don't enjoy borrowing or renting wash plants. When I've seen them leased to other people, it's never worked out well since they simply take a lot of maintenance and abuse. At the moment, his crew was slewing through a layer of reddish-looking gravel that was 15 feet thick. Yeah, thick. With an average of almost half an ounce of gold for every 100 yards of earth they processed, the remuneration was respectable. It wasn't the jackpot Parker needed to catch up, but it's still not terrible. Deeper down was the true reward, the stuff of Klondike legends. They thought that a layer of white channel pay dirt may contain 4 times as much gold, if not more. Their secret weapon was that white channel. The secret to saving the season and reaching that astronomically high $25 million goal. Parker's enormous wash plant, lovingly known as Big Red, was the workhorse of the entire operation, the device that ate up tons of pay dirt and separated out the valuable gold. Big Red had been trembling and rattling for 5 unrelenting months, processing earth day in and day out. Although it was the center of his Dominion Creek mine site, the relentless, harsh workload had worn it down. Are you prepared for water? Yes. Come on, let's do it. You're going to get water. Then the unimaginable occurred. The catastrophe came as a surprise. The foundation of his multi-million-dollar fantasy, Big Red, started to tremble violently. It was a destructive, out-of-control vibration rather than its typical rhythmic processing shudder. It then practically shook itself apart with a succession of horrific crunches and screams of tortured metal. The frame gave way, vital parts tore loose, and the powerful wash plant became silent. It was meant to be conquering the pay dirt, but instead it was a broken behemoth. All Parker and his colleagues could do was look in fear and bewilderment. This wasn't a straightforward malfunction that could be fixed with a little welding. This was disastrous. It would take a lot of time and effort to rebuild Big Red. Parker felt the implications as if they were a physical blow. The main machine he used to harvest gold was broken. They were depending on extremely rich white channel income, but the worst part was that they couldn't access or process it. Their season was expected to be saved by the very pay dirt. Yes, we now have some water. I hope this is the second time. Hurry up, sweetheart. Lake Sweetheart. How was she doing these days? It merely sat there. It was loaded with gold. Now, however, it was totally out of our grasp. Winter was rapidly approaching. Thousands, perhaps even hundreds of thousands, of dollars in gold were lost forever with each day of downtime. The season appeared to be coming to an end. It's likely that some people who were watching believed this was it. The moment Parker's hard-driving and ambitious expansion finally caught up with him. Some fans constantly voice their opinions online, believing that breakdowns like this are unavoidable and that Parker pushes his crew and equipment too hard in an attempt to hit those eye-catching statistics. Others leap to his defense, praising his unwavering will to achieve in spite of the odds and claiming that gold mining in the Yukon is harsh and equipment failure is a natural part of the process. Every time a mechanical failure occurs, the discussion continues. A boss pressing too close to the edge, unfavorable circumstances, or bad luck. Big Red's roar used to be audible, but now there was silence. Parker's $25 million target appeared to be a pipe dream in the Yukon, as did the more pressing necessity to bank thousands more ounces before the low frost. Yesterday was the day he needed a plan. Parker needed to pull a rabbit out of his hat because Big Red was in ruins and the season was fading. Otherwise, his Dominion Creek dream and millions of dollars worth of gold would be buried beneath the snow. A relic's resurrection. Soar. Desperation permeated the atmosphere at Dominion Creek. Parker Schnobel's top gold getter, Big Red, was a smashed mess. The staff was taken aback. They could just taste that rich white channel pay soil that was laden with gold. But many mining chiefs now considered it unassailable. They would have to give up, cut their losses, and hope for better fortune the next year if they experienced a catastrophe of this magnitude, thus late in the season. Parker Schnobel, however, is not like other mining executives. Some supporters refer to it as stubbornness, a refusal to concede loss that occasionally verges on obsession. Others view it as the hallmark of a real champion, an unwavering will to find a way to win no matter how stacked the odds are. It's not a positive thing. So, erosion is the cause of all that water escaping. This wash plant pad is the last thing we want. Parker's thoughts were racing. Watching his season end was not an option for him. He was in urgent need of another wash plant. Then he recalled Bob, the wash plant. Bob, a wash facility constructed in the 1960s, was a piece of mining history. With a strong V12 engine and a tough six-wheel drive system built to withstand the harsh Yukon terrain, it was a beast of a machine unto itself. For 3 arduous weeks, however, Bob had been sitting idly, neglected in a corner of one of Parker's other claims. It was ancient. It was awkward. Additionally, it would be quite difficult to get it transferred and operational again. Many fans were probably already second-guessing on social media, with some presumably thinking, an ancient machine? Is he serious? That thing will break down before it washes a yard of dirt. Others, possibly older viewers who value vintage iron, may have been hoping for the old relic to return. It was Parker who called. By the end of that same day, Wash Plant Bob had to be transported from its resting place, hauled over dangerous mountain roads to Dominion Creek, and be operational, splooting for gold. It was a crazy request. It was a logistical headache to move a machine of that size and antiquity with its fragile and perhaps brittle parts. The roads were rough and narrow and steep. Parker's only hope could be lost if Bob takes a wrong turn, slips, and ends up as a crumpled heap at the bottom of a ravine. The crew acted quickly, despite likely being worn out and discouraged by Big Red's passing. This is where you frequently witness Parker's loyalty, which many fans emphasize. Even if the plans don't seem feasible, his crew will do amazing things for him. It was a six-wheel drive monster that they had to maneuver cautiously. This 60-year-old monster traverses some of the Yukon's most difficult terrain. Every jolt, sharp rise, and narrow turn was an emotional experience. Washplant Bob's V12 engine most likely sputtered and screamed as it clawed its way nearer Dominion, a sound that had not been heard in weeks. Hauga had not been heard in weeks. All we'll do is turn on the plant and check if it functions. It's nice that we have water. It's good that we have a screen that rattles. Seeing these ancient devices come to life has a particular allure, and a lot of fans adore the frantic, creative solutions that are so prevalent throughout the gold rush. It's to make the most of what you have and to never give up. Now, a $4 million cleanup would be cause for celebration for the majority of small-time miners. A game-changer would be the term. The kind of outcome that makes a losing season profitable. To be clear, 96 ounces of gold is not a laughing matter. That gold served as a ray of hope amid all the turmoil, disappointments, and sadness caused by Big Red's passing. It was evidence that their relentless efforts were not in vain and that gold was still in the earth. It was a much-needed morale boost for the group. For many who watched from home, it resembled a story of redemption. They claim that Parker always manages to find a way. The child never gives up. Parker Schnobel, however, is not the most minor. He doesn't pursue minor triumphs. This haul was only the start of a season that had a $25 million objective set, and the specter of the huge red still hanging over them. 96 degrees. The appetizer was that. Indeed, it demonstrated that their contingency plan was not entirely ineffective. I appreciate you finishing this. The setup is good. The plan appeals to me. I like it so far, but I know there will always be a few kinks to iron out. Bob might really strike gold with his wash scheme. But Parker wasn't pursuing the gold rush, not even close. Deeper within the White Channel pay was the true gem, the one that had the power to completely change the course of this season. For years, everyone whispered that the dirt was older, richer, and unspoiled. Their investigation revealed that it was 4 times more fertile than the red gravel they had just passed. Everything may alter with that white pay. Everyone's attention was now on Bob, the wash plant. There was more to this than simply extracting a few more ounces from the soil. This concerned Parker's entire season, his legacy, and his reputation. The man has, after all, established a reputation for taking significant chances and making them into even greater successes. The stakes felt different this time, though. Now the entire process depended on a machine that had barely been revived in time and was over 50 years old. Bob the wash plant was never intended to be the protagonist of a contemporary gold mining operation. But here it was, rattling and moaning, taking center stage with its 60-year-old steel frame. They had some breathing room thanks to the $250,000 cleanup, but the White Channel was what would make or break them. That was the objective that might help them return to the season's lofty objectives. Objectives that seemed so far away. Bob had to clean the factory. It needed to run smoothly, hard, and without breaking under duress. Because Parker could lose everything he'd fought so hard to achieve, not just money if it failed now. However, you'll probably have to remove the entire tray, take everything out, make everything clean, put it in place, only a small amount of dirt to support it. That will be rebed. The stress was palpable as the squad faced this new obstacle. Wash plant Bob was hardly running. The red gravel was the source of the gold that the crew had previously witnessed it spitting forth. The true test started now. Could it continue? Would it be able to withstand the heavy, thick stuff in the White Channel without becoming jammed or malfunctioning? Would it be able to make enough money quickly enough to beat the clock before the Yukon freeze arrived and ended the season? Fans were aware that these were serious inquiries. Online comments were already exploding. There were many who were completely focused on Parker and his underdog machine. Others were prepared to declare it another audacious endeavor that would ultimately fail. That's what, however, makes Parker's narrative so interesting. He inhabits the area between fame and catastrophe, between earning millions of dollars and seeing it all disappear. The next few weeks would be crucial since time was running out and the weather was getting closer. Each pail of soil was important. It was a win each hour that Bob ran without breaking at the wash plant. Parker had no intention of getting fortunate. Grit, strategy, and pure resolve were what he was relying on. And there's a chance that this abandoned, antiquated device might make one of the most surprising reappearances in Gold Rush history. At this time, fan shapes probably lighted up. When confronted with the more difficult White Channel material, skeptics would blame Bob's advanced age and forecast frequent breakdowns. Supporters would be praising Parker's resourcefulness and his team's unwavering diligence. This tension, which highlights the minute-by-minute problem-solving, is what makes Gold Rush so great. The clay composition of the White Channel might have caused the screens to become blind, necessitating repeated and laborious cleanouts. Or perhaps because of its density, they had to change the internal lifters of the drum or install more forceful spray bars to guarantee adequate agitation and washing. These impromptu changes, which frequently include bush welding and inventive engineering, are a mainstay of the program and illustrate the ingenuity required to thrive in the Klondike. Wash plant Bob was unable to simply perform in order to even come close to a level like 16 million. It must have developed into a gold-spitting behemoth that ran nearly nonstop, 301.45. Yes, Big Red had a strong finish. What about this brand new washing plant? Sand and rock. Thus, beneath the frigid Yukon skies, Parker was probably forcing his staff to work long shifts day and night. Bob would receive an unrelenting supply of that valuable white pay dirt from the excavators. The logistical complexity of such intensive operations is an unknown reality. Racing the clock while managing water resources for the wash plant, a crucial and frequently troublesome component. Making sure there is enough fuel for all the equipment in a remote area, and handling the ever-expanding tailings heaps. The Gold Rush camera's painstaking documentation of the White Channel's gold weigh-ins would have served as the operation's dramatic center. Their motivation would increase as each weigh-in became heavier than the last. Picture the scenes. Parker dumping out bag after bag of gold beneath the glaring lights of the gold chamber. On the T-scale, the numbers are rising. With their optimized relic, they hit the center of the pay streak with 50 ounces, 100 ounces, and then even bigger single cleanups. It would have been difficult. The old plant was bound to break down. The tension would increase every time a belt cracked or wash plant bob sputtered. Knowing that every wasted hour was valuable time that they couldn't get back, the crew hurried to fix it. In terms of gold mining, it is truly extraordinary to arrive at a $16 million haul with a backup wash plant, especially one of Bob's vintage. It touches on a number of things. The sheer tenacity of his crew, the extraordinary richness of the White Channel pay dirt at Dominion Creek, and Parker's remarkable talent for locating and exploiting such ground. It also implies that they were able to maintain Wash Plant Bob operating at an unexpectedly high capacity for a considerable amount of time, a reflection of their technical prowess and Parker's constant demands for improvement. Big Red's replacement wasn't the only goal here. It was about forcing an elderly dog to do things it was never meant to accomplish. And by doing this, Parker did more than save his season from certain death. He created one of the most gripping comeback tales in the history of the gold rush, demonstrating that even lost artifacts can occasionally yield a king's ransom with enough perseverance and a dash of inspired insanity. Did Wash Plant Bob deliver those millions and emerge as Parker's season's surprising hero? Or was this really a temporary solution to a season-ending issue? If you believe Parker's old-school gamble was brilliant or just plain dumb, please hit like and subscribe.